And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot live here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel and Twitter account. As always, I'm your host / judge / moderator, Bryson Carver. Very excited to be in the building today with a loaded, jam-packed, fun show with three fantastic guests and panelists on tap for tonight. First of all, it is the man who has officially taken the title of Mr. Runner-Up. He's looking for his breakthrough. I have all but swore to him it is coming soon. Will it come tonight? We will see. The host of the Boston Sports Summit, it is Tim Barnard, whose team absolutely kicked my teeth in on Sunday afternoon. Tim, how you feeling after Sunday afternoon with the Celtics whooping on the Warriors?
I'm feeling great, and thank you for the little exchange there over that nice bet at halftime.
Man of my word.
So, but I'm feeling pretty good. The Celtics are obviously the best team in the NBA, hands down, bar none. Repping my buddy's restaurant, Newton, Mass, Barmore. It's a great spot. I'm just kind of hanging out. Just waiting for the playoffs to come and waiting for the Celtics to actually do something when it comes down to crunch time, rather than being the top regular season team like the Boston Bruins. So.
That's fair. I know absolutely nothing about hockey, but I'm going to take it the Bruins are not exactly known for coming up big in the playoffs. I'm just going to trust your word there, Tim. Our second guest is in the top 5 in terms of scoring the 8 o'clock spot, is the host of the All Even podcast and the co-founder of the Gryd Network. It is Barry Grant Jr. Barry, how you doing today, my man?
It is very disrespectful to put me second in regards to any type of introduction. Like I've created the show. I was the longest reigning champion on this show for quite a while before anybody even had a chance to come close, because I just took like a 4-month hiatus and just left. Let somebody else get it. And the nerve of you to announce me second and to have I said it already in the chat. It's already out there that this is your boy. So you want to go ahead and announce them, but we already know who's left. But it's wild. The disrespect has already started. It's wild.
Okay. Oh, you got to relax there, bro. You got to relax. Okay, Alfred is my guy. I'm not gonna lie. You are speaking facts there. Alfred Parsard Jr., a Gryd Network contributor and the graphics meister, the graphics master here at this network, putting together some great stuff for all of our shows. Alfred, how you doing, my man?
I am great. I was much better until people who wear sunglasses indoors with Joker color outfits come on this show and talk their bravado. But I'm all right. As long as Barry doesn't win this show, I'm all right.
We'll see. It'll be hotly contested. We have 3 fantastic panelists tonight. Let's look at some comments here real quick before we get into our rules, because we already got some stuff in here. Patrick Brown, happy Tuesday, fellas. Let's go, Barry Grant Jr. Yes, all those of us the Gryd Network know Patrick is Barry's guy, no question about it. Romy is the best in the comments. Best team is the Lakers. I don't know about that.
Not
Romy.
a shot.
Listen,
not a shot.
Let's
my guy.
back
I
up
don't
on
know
that.
who he is, but that's my guy.
And Patrick, by the way, says Alfred's new haircut will not save him tonight versus Barry. We will see what happens. Let's look at our leaderboard updated after last week with Adam Bessie winning the show. Mike Guido still in first place, followed by there's Alfred in second. Dalton Brown, Barry Grant Jr. right there. Devin Nettles, John Rivera, Adam Bessie moving into the top 7. Dylan Lima, EJ Savage, Ryan Flowers, Anthony Bessie. There's Tim Barnard, Alex Johnson, and Eric Van Letten to round out the 14 members who have competed on this prestigious show. Let's move on to our first round rules. Let's start with the first round rules, rather. It's this simple. A great take gives you 200 points. A good take gives you 100 points. An okay take gives you 50. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed with 0 points. You come home with absolutely nothing. We're going to start with the king himself. We can engage in GOAT debates another time. Hopefully when he retires, then we can save it for them. But the king himself, LeBron James, became the very first player in the history of the National Basketball Association to surpass 40,000 career points. Did so in a loss on Saturday night to the Denver Nuggets. Again, LeBron, obviously the all-time leading scorer, broke Kareem's record last season, now 40,000 points. So I will start with you, Tim. Is this, in a career that has featured many accomplishments, many feats, is this the most impressive?
To shock the world? No, it's not. And I truly believe that these longevity records, while impressive, because he's been around for that long, he's been able to amass all these points as much as he has. Really, it just goes to show that he has, just been in the league for such a long time, been in the league for 21 years. And the only thing that again, shocker, Celtics fan has against LeBron James, what else is new? I will compare it to this. Tom Brady has basically all the NFL passing records, and I look at that and go, I think Brady's most impressive record is obviously the 7 Super Bowl titles that he has, which is more than any team in the NFL. So with LeBron, he also has been playing since he was 18 years old. He's been in the league right out of high school. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 4 years at UCLA. Robert Parrish, who has the title for most games played in the NBA, played the exact same amount of seasons as LeBron James has. And yet, Robert Parrish has 200 more games than LeBron. So to me, it's good for him. Like, again, great, unbelievable stat, 40,000 points, first to ever do it. But when all is said and done, I think there are other other stats about LeBron that are more impressive rather than just his than just scoring 40,000 points. That's it.
Is there one individually that stands out, whether it be a stat or an accomplishment championship, that would stand out to Tim?
I hate to give him this because I know he thinks this is what made him the greatest player of all time. But of course, coming back from 3-1 against your Golden State, 73 or 72-10 and
73-9.
73-9. Sorry.
No, it's a painful number.
But to me, that is more impressive than him just being in the league since he was 18 years old, playing 21 seasons, not having to deal with 4 years of college like a lot of the other guys have. So
Sure. Yeah, no, I think too, like the Robert Parrish stat, I didn't realize I knew he was ahead. I didn't realize he was 200 games ahead. That's kind of wild. But yeah, I mean, listen, when you consider, LeBron's longevity, the one thing I would push back on the whole being in the league a long time, it's not like he's averaging 8 points a game and just hanging on by a thread. Like, with all due respect, Kevin Garnett did late in his career, or Kobe Bryant averaged about, around 20 points a game ish, but wasn't terribly efficient. Bron's averaging 28, 8 and 7 on like 50% shooting. And I could be wrong on this. I think he might be shooting on way less attempts, obviously, but I think he might be shooting better from three than Steph Curry, which is, listen, how he's improved his three-point shot is a credit to him. Okay, take Tim. That the only reason I give you, I was going to give you good take. The only reason I didn't give you a good take is because you didn't necessarily list a specific accomplishment that you would put like significantly above LeBron, but nonetheless, okay, take by Tim. To you, Barry Grant Jr., I know you are a big LeBron stan and certainly a lifelong Lakers fan. Is this LeBron's most impressive accomplishment? 30,000 points.
I would 1,000 agree that it's his most impressive accomplishment. And I would go ahead and say that this is just as big as Joe DiMaggio's hit streak that possibly might not get broken again. Here's why. He wants to talk about, I loved him, but he's a Celtics fan, so I'm coming in hot tonight. All right. Paul Pierce played 19 seasons, 26,000 points. So let's not talk about a longevity award that makes sense. It's about playing at a high level for the longest period of time than anybody in NBA history. This man has the longest prime in sports history, other than a Tom Brady, if you want to put that out there, right? And if you want to talk about college being a thing, well, college was a thing back then. He was big enough and strong enough to be able to get straight to the NBA. Not a lot of people had that particular skill and ability to do so. And he came out as an 18-year-old dropping 20 points a game. It's not like he went from 5 points to 20 points. He came out dropping buckets. So let's put that out there. Longevity, consistency, and durability is why LeBron James is the greatest. And this is why this particular record is the greatest. If we want to have a stat here, this is what's so impressive about this number. LeBron, if you take out his three-point makes, still has more points than Michael Jordan in his NBA career. Think about that stat for a minute. So people want to talk about longevity stats not being a thing. It is a thing because in baseball, that's what the entire sport is based on. Longevity, numbers, putting up big points. Craig Biggio is in the Hall of Fame right now because he was playing longer than most people. He had 3,000 hits, had a lot of walks, had some defensive ability, but he's in the Hall of Fame because he played a very, very long time and stand the test of time in regards to durability. So that's a big thing. Durability gets lost in sports nowadays because everybody, what do you call it? Load managing. LeBron is one of one in regards to this. This record is amazing.
Load management?
Amazing.
No. The load. What are you referring to in load management?
Nope. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I wouldn't exactly call LeBron a load manager. I mean,
he is not. He is not.
I mean, if you want to say late in his career, I mean, the man's a million years old. Like, he does need some time off. If he's able to
98 years old, still playing what he can do. Come on now.
It's solid. Very good take. Going to give you the 100 points here. I think when you talk about obviously the historical significance of it, I don't think it's as unbreakable as DiMaggio's history because that is just sick.
Well, think about it, Bryson. I don't mean to cut you off, but he's still going.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, and still going strong. It's not like
it may get to 45,000 or 50.
I don't think it'll get to 50, but 45,000, who knows if he continues to play at this level. And listen, I saw some weird stuff. I don't even know the specifics of it, but Wemby would have to play like 80 games a year and average like 30 something. I mean, it'd be something crazy in order to even come within reach of it. It's an unbelievable record. So a good take by Barry Gryd Jr. Finally, with you, Alfred Parsard Jr., is this 40,000 point streak or this 40,000 point threshold, is this the most impressive stat or accomplishment of LeBron James's career?
While the 40,000 points is impressive, what's more impressive than that is not even just the longevity of LeBron James, but to echo the gentleman before me, it's the longevity at this high of a level. People have to remember the facts. He broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. If you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's stats, if you look at any footage of him from the last 2 seasons he played in the league, he was so tired he had to take a break on offense, had to take a break on defense. He wasn't playing at a high level. Matter of fact, Kareem averaged 10 points a game his final year in the league. LeBron is still averaging 25. If you look at LeBron's stat card, he has never averaged less than 20 points in any season he has ever played in the NBA. He's averaging more in his 21st year in the league than a lot of other guys who are much younger and much fresher, with much fresher legs and much less mileage on his body. You also got to remember the guy played in 10 finals overall. 8 of them were consecutive. He's played in the Olympics, so there's a lot of wear and tear on that body. He should not be able to do what he's doing at the level he's doing it at. And then not only that, down 29 points in the third quarter, leading comebacks, because consistently carrying the Lakers on his back night after night. And not to mention, he's first in scoring and 4th in assists all time. So, I mean, yeah, the 40,000 points is cool, a record that I don't think will ever be broken, much like Cal Ripken's Iron Man streak. It's just one of the things I don't see happening. I mean, then again, they said Kareem's record they didn't think would ever be broken either, but it takes a once-in-a-lifetime player to do what he's doing, and it's more the fact that he can still play as if he was a 25-year-old at nearing age 40. That's the most impressive thing, and we'll never see it again in any sport. That's the point.
Listen, especially if Barry was the front runner for this. He talked about in his show a couple months ago about how this new science had come out showing load management actually didn't benefit you at all. So maybe that comes back around and athletic staffs in the next decade kind of adjust to that. Hopefully so. But as currently constituted, again, like you just aren't going to have guys putting up those numbers. But listen, Alfred was dropping bars right there. I'm going to give you a great take, Alfred. This is the numbers you were just popping out of there like crazy to support your argument, especially the 4th all-time in assist is. And what's crazy is the LeBron being the all-time leading scorer, and most don't consider scoring his greatest trait. And he's the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. So that's something to keep in mind. Where regardless of where you stand on the GOAT debate, that is pretty fantastic. Oh man, I tell you what, Patrick is going at you here, Tim. He says LeBron beating the Celtics in 2012 will single-handedly bring C's bad memories as well. He says 2012 Game 6 was a nightmare for Celtics fans. Tim, I'm sure you tried.
It shouldn't have even gotten to Game 6 because when D Wade clotheslined Rondo, never got the call. Rondo was going off in Game 2. I'm sorry. It should not have even gotten to Game 6.
Celtics tears. Here we go. We bathe in it. We bathe in Celtic tears.
Yeah, okay. Please. I can't wait for Jason Tatum to stuff it down LeBron's throat in the finals.
And then choke in a game winning situation.
Jason Tatum's a big time player in late series historically. Okay, put some respect on Jason Tatum.
How about that Golden State series? How did he do in that one?
You know what? Steph Curry puts the fear of God in a lot.
Is that what it
was? Marcus Smart that screwed that up. So
we're gonna blame it on one guy. We're gonna blame it on one guy. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's an aside. We can move on to the second round, though. Second round, everything gets doubled, ladies and gentlemen. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take gives you 200 points. No K take gives you 100. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed again. 0 points. Let's move on to women's college basketball, where arguably the greatest women's player ever, by the name of Caitlin Clark from the University of Iowa, broke the all-time men's and women's scoring record, surpassing a 54-year mark set by the late great Pistol Pete Maravich at LSU. She did so at the free throw line, hitting her 18th point in a game that was more watched than Wemby's rookie debut, which is pretty unbelievable. Over 3.1 million tuned in to see Iowa, number 6 Iowa versus number 2 Ohio State. We talk about her ability to shoot from long range. She is the Steph Curry of women's college basketball, really of women's basketball, with respect to people like Sabrina Ionescu, and sure to go number 1 overall by the Indiana Fever. Although we do have to pay respect to Pistol Pete, because he did that in 3 years and 1 less year than Caitlin with no 3-pointers, which is kind of mind-boggling. When you talk about that level of dominance, Caitlin's special in her own right. So I will start with you, Barry. You were sort of teasing the group chat something you're about to come out with, so we will see. Among men's and women's players, because there's obviously been plenty of both greats, where does Caitlin Clark rank all time?
She's not even in the top 10. Listen, we have to stop. All right. I understand recency bias. We have to stop it. Okay. Caitlin Clark, as good as she is, she's fly. She's very good. She's awesome. Right. But we're talking about the greatest college players of all time. We're talking about Lou Alcindor. We're talking about Elvin Hayes. We're talking about what's my man name? Lucas. We're talking about Christian Leitner. Hold on, I gotta listen. Hold on, I came prepared. Hold on, we'll go ahead and pull this up. Pistol Pete Mavericks that you just passed. Bill Russell, Bill Walton, who went to UCLA, right? Oscar Robertson, Cincinnati, 3-time Player of the Year. Elvin Hayes in Houston. Jerry Lucas, National Player of the Year, 2-time Player of the Year. Christian Leitner, Jordan, USC. Tyler Hansborough at UNC is one of the greatest college players of all time. He wasn't a good pro, but we're talking about college here. Magic, Bird, Tim Duncan. So are you literally giving me all of those players and she's better than all of those guys? And those are 12 I just named. That's just 12. And there's more. I don't have Wilt Chamberlain in there. I don't have a whole bunch of other guys in there. And if you want to put her in the Mount Rushmore of all-time women's players, she's definitely in the top 3. She's up there with Candace Parker. She's up there with Diana Taurasi, right? But we have to think about all the greats that came before her. The scoring record is great, but Shamiqua Holslaw was really, really good in college women's basketball too, and she won championships, right? UConn girls won. These things matter. I get the scoring record. But come on now, we're talking about the pantheon of college basketball players. She's good, but we got to stop with the recency bias. We really do.
I'll tell you this, men's or women's, I don't think it is humanly possible to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I just don't. His college record
he has the greatest basketball career ever.
Yeah,
ever.
But he did have the greatest career, better than Michael and better than LeBron.
We're talking about the high school, college, and NBA ever.
No question about it. And his college resume might be the most impressive. I mean, the 3 years, it's crazy at UCLA. Yeah. I mean, listen, by the way, I think you're forgetting Maya Moore. Maya Moore.
Listen, there's a lot that I didn't even name. Respect to everybody, but come on now.
Not top 10 is rough. But you know what? You came with your stats, you came with your numbers. So a good take for Barry Grant Jr. He was out here talking in the group chat like he's going to get the first bad take in 8 o'clock spot history. And I was waiting for her to say she's not in the top 100. I was like, oh god.
Nah, listen, I give her top 15, but there's been a lot of great players, man. Like we got a scoring record is cool, but come on now, there's a lot.
Does it though, right?
There's a lot of players out there that got some buckets, man. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm just saying it's big when LeBron does it. It's cool.
Not even LeBron. If LeBron wasn't, I have to be truthful. There's too many great college players that came along and was putting up buckets. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair. To you, Alfred, where does Caitlin Clark rank amongst the greatest college basketball players, men's or women's, all time?
Amongst women's college basketball players, I would say she's definitely a top 10. But I can't rank her amongst the men. And also, I'm not trying to downplay her accomplishments, but I'm not really all that impressed that she broke the record, because think about this. How many of those NCAA players are actually ready to go to the WNBA? Look at the quality of the competition she's facing. Also, look at the box scores of the teams that she's played. The competition doesn't add up to her if you really look at it. So that's number one. Number two, if she had done this in the WNBA and became the WNBA all-time leading scorer, okay, I will give her all the respect in the world. But in the NCAA, they're amateur student athletes. She's playing against other amateur student athletes. The competition level, as we all know, is much more higher in the pros because they're the best players in the world as opposed to college. You look at all these college barn burners that came down the line. Adam Morrison from Gonzaga cried on national TV when they lost in the Final Four. He was projected to be the next Larry Bird. He goes to the NBA. He rides the end of the Lakers bench to 2 rings and never saw the court in the finals. You got Christian Laettner, who was who at Duke was the number one hated college basketball player at the time, and was supposed to be like another great player. He goes on to have a lengthy career as a journeyman role player. So, like, what are we really saying here? That this is the NCAA record? Yeah, breaking college all-time records is cool, but if her game doesn't translate to the pros, will we even remember that she did this? So that's my opinion. We've seen a lot of people, men and women, kill in high school and killed it in college. They get to the pros, they fall flat. They don't even make an all-star team once in their careers. So I equate this to being the big fish in the little pond. So while it's impressive on that level, I'm not ready to rank her higher than the likes of Bill Russell and Kareem, or Lou Alcindor, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Pete Maravich, and all these people. So I'm not trying to downplay Caitlin Clark, but next.
Yeah, sure. Listen, first of all, her game's going to translate to the next level. You could shoot the ball like that. You can play at any level. It doesn't matter what. Like, when I hear, Steph Curry when it translated the 80s, it's like, man, stop it. You can shoot like that. You can translate.
No, she's going to be tough in the league. She's going to be tough in the league.
Yeah. Listen, she's not going to be the best player immediately when she comes in the league, but give her 2 years, if that. It's going to be quick. But yeah, I mean, I would also sort of come back at that when you're talking about, Christian Laettner, again, all of these all-time greats. I don't want to downplay anybody, but were they not also playing against student athlete amateurs? Like, I mean, like you could say that about anybody going the next level. I mean, you can make that same case, but yeah, I mean, I think overall when you talk about Caitlin Clark's record, it's not the WNBA all-time scoring record, which is currently held by the great Diana Taurasi, but it's certainly not. It's not irrelevant. I think you're downplaying a little too much. But nevertheless, do we have the right here? Okay. Take by Alfred. I'll give you the 100 points, get you to 300 points to tie you with Barry Grant Jr. at the top of the list. Tim Barnard, finally with you. Where does Caitlin Clark rank among all-time men's and women's college basketball players in history?
So I'm with these two. She's not in the top 10. I mean, I don't like how we have to compare men and women. We have to say that they're in the exact same field, the entire time. Because again, it has been male student athletes, yes, while still amateurs, and plenty of guys who didn't make it in the NBA, never even came close to going to the NBA, versus female amateurs that Caitlin Clark had to go against. I'm sorry, it is 2 very different fields, with the men and the women. And it's great. Like, good for her. She broke an amazing record held by Pistol Pete, but that doesn't mean jack. when it comes to comparing her to, male college basketball players. I mean, just to add on to Barry's list, you have Fly Slamma Jamma, with in Houston, Patrick Ewing in Georgetown, Jordan.
Right.
I mean, listen, Jordan at UNC, it's still, but Ralph Sampson is the name that never gets mentioned. At
That's
Virginia.
what I'm saying. I could have went on.
You could have went on,
Right.
absolutely. And so it's just the idea that we have to sit here and always, especially now more than ever, and I don't want to get into that field because that's a whole different show we can discuss this in. But to have to say that men and women are equal is just ludicrous to me. Can we please just have the women's college basketball grades and the male college basketball grades, keep them completely separate? And Caitlin Clark, in my opinion, from female, number one, no two ways about it. She is arguably the best women's college basketball player to ever play the game, and I think she'll be just fine in the WNBA. That is a no-brainer. But to sit here and say that all these other to sit here and say that she's in the top 10 with men, no, absolutely not.
I don't know if we're necessarily talking about ability though, because like I know the conversation again, like you said, totally different discussion. But Serena Williams wouldn't be one of the top. Her peak wouldn't have been one of the top 70 players. But relative to what she accomplished against other women, her resume is insane. Now, Caitlin Clark does not have Serena Williams' resume, but I think if you put the two fields together and you talk about what they accomplished in their respective fields, it's almost impossible to not have Serena in the top 2 or 3. I mean, her resume is nuts. I think a similar case could be made for Caitlin Clark in women's college basketball. That's not to, again, I want to reemphasize this. It's not to downplay Ralph Sampson, like you mentioned, highly underrated player. She's absolutely a better college player than MJ. Stop. MJ had made one shot. Cool. Nice for him. He was maybe the greatest basketball player ever at the NBA. Solid player in college. Okay. Solid. He was. Come on now. But I think in terms of, again, accomplishments, I hear y'all about the top 10, but I think that the fact that it's like, oh my gosh, she can't even be considered. Again, you talk about her resume she's averaging 32 a game. And by the way, it isn't like, with all due respect to people like Lou Alcindor, his competition, and I think he's the best college player ever. I don't think he'll ever be surpassed. Competition he played?
With all due respect though, Bryson, she has the greenest of lights I have ever seen at the college level. The greenest of lights. There's girls that the coach just give it to Caitlin. Don't worry about it. Just give it. That's what we're looking at here. Come on now.
John Wooden would have never
she had that green light though.
Right.
John Wooden never did that for Lou.
Dean Smith would have been like, listen, you're not scoring no more than about 16 points. You need to relax. Relax.
I'm saying if you have the ability to do it, and by the way, let's be real, Iowa, not that great without her. Like she's got
I get it.
LeBron effort.
Obviously.
I get it.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll give Tim an okay take because he did sort of save himself at the end with in regards to her. I don't even know if she's the greatest women's player in college ever. Again, I still think I hold Maya Moore in the utmost regard in the women's field. I think her resume is insane at UConn.
For me.
Even in the WNBA, she was just incredible. Stepped away due to obviously a much greater cause, but an okay take by Tim. Let's move on to our third round rules. If we can get to them, everything gets doubled from the second round. A great take gives you 800 points. A good take gives you 400. An okay take gives you, good take gives you 400, and an okay take gives you 200. Bad take come home with 0 points. Alfred begged me to do this segment. So here you go, Alfred. You will be going first in this one, my friend. Major League Baseball's biggest story right now in regards to spring training is see-through pants right now in regards to spring training. My guess is it's going to get fixed at some point. Rob Manfred is the single worst commissioner in all of professional sports. I don't think it's particularly close, but it'll get fixed eventually. But Alfred, your take, my friend. This is your segment.
Well, as you said, Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner out of the major North American sports. And this uniform issue is just one of many egregious things that he has approved or said or done to harm the sport of baseball. And just to let you know, the uniform issues are not just see-through pants. From what I have read and from what players have said in interviews, the names of the teams, the names of the players, and the numbers traditionally in sports uniforms, they're sewn on. However, this season, they have been ironed on. They are ironed on decals on professional sports players' jerseys. It's egregious. And this is part of why Rob Manfred is a terrible commissioner. We're talking about the same guy who referred to the World Series trophy as, and I quote, a piece of tin. We're talking about the same guy who called his own sport that he governs boring. He's made rules that hurt the sport, such as the ghost runner and a pitch clock. Like, it's just unacceptable that he would approve these uniforms. The fact that he would have Fanatics team with Nike instead of not letting Nike just make the uniforms is insane. I don't know if any of you gentlemen have ever heard of any piece of Fanatics made apparel, but this is not the first time that Fanatics made jerseys for teams and the quality was terrible. The NHL, as Tim might know, the NHL just had this problem where Fanatics was the producer of their uniforms, and they were so piss poor that the NHL had to step in and do something about it. This also reminds me of when the NBA had what I like to call the jerseys, the T-shirt jerseys. Remember, there was one game LeBron ripped the sleeves off the jersey because they were so uncomfortable. What did the NBA do? They got rid of them the next season. But Rob Manfred doesn't listen to his players. Will it get fixed? I don't know. Because, again, Rob Manfred turns a blind ear. He's a dictator. David, what's this guy? Adam Silver in the NBA. Never done anything egregious like this. Roger Goodell's a policeman, but he's never done anything egregious to hurt his sport. So this is just another notch on Manfred's belt of why he needs to get kicked out of office.
Thankfully, that will happen in 2029, although I don't think any of us can wait long enough. It's going to be a long 5 years to that point. 5 years to that point. But, yeah, I mean, listen, you talk about the myriad of issues that have played Major League Baseball, and I will say one of his very few redeeming qualities is instituting the pitch clock, because I listen, I know you're a baseball purist, respect to you and people like you, but for the average fan, my God, the game takes forever. So I think that was one of the few. The ghost runner rule was dumb. I'm with you.
You can't come out in the media, Bryson, and tell people that the sport that you oversee is boring.
I know. No, I agree with you. I know you can't. No, I agree with you. He's a horrendous commissioner. He's not in the same league as Goodell, as Silver. I think you can't put him in that class. But in general, you know what? You wanted this segment, and you lived up to it, so I'm going to give you a great take, okay? I'm going to put you over the 1,000-point threshold, 1,100 points. It was your segment. You wanted it, and you hit the nail on the head on virtually every point other than the pitch clock. To you, Tim Barnard, what is your reaction to the see-through pants, and does it speak to a larger issue with Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred?
I mean, of course it speaks to a larger issue with Rob Manfred in baseball, but I will say this. I think the pitch clock has honestly been the best thing for baseball, because to sit there and watch a 4.5 hour, 5 hour Red Sox Yankees game in the middle of friggin' July is ridiculous. I don't care who you are. I don't care how heated the rivalry is. Thank God that we can actually speed the game up just a little bit. But to get back to the pants, yeah, it's a problem. I mean, Alfred, you mentioned the NHL. They got rid of it, and then they re-signed a deal with them just last year. And, of course, NHL fans are up in arms because one of the biggest issues with Fanatics is the fact that they hate doing alternate jerseys. And in the NHL, that is, a staple. It's beautiful. It's cool. I mean, the Bruins, you love it or you hate it, they had this, Pooh Bear jersey, which was electric. And now that they're going back to Fanatics, all the NHL fans are up in arms over it, myself included, because it's just like, what are we doing? You had Nike, you had Adidas, and then to have this issue with the see-through pants, you're almost just sitting there going, do you even care? And it's funny because I see a commercial on TV all the time for, be smart, buy smart, buy real products from real distributors, not the, fake products where you could get, James misspelled on the back of your jersey, even though it looks like a Laker jersey. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what Fanatics has become. They bought the rights to Major League Baseball, and then Major League Baseball didn't buy smart. They didn't go with Adidas. They didn't go with Nike. And so to see the see-through pants and know that you could have guessed it was friggin' Fanatics when you could see the friggin' players' jerseys
10 seconds, Tim,
in their pants. So to sit there and be to sit there and see that it's Fanatics, you're just sitting there going, what are we doing? You're not helping your cause.
Yeah, no, it's been a big issue, and I mean, let's be real. Nike has been in general the best uniform distributor. You talk about the NFL, you talk about the NBA. Now I do know the NBA had some issues with their uniforms. I remember that first year there was a lot of torn jerseys. LeBron had a torn jersey. It seemed like I remember Draymond might have been from a fight, you know, in typical Draymond fashion. But still, like the uniforms weren't terribly, they weren't the best. But to the NBA and Nike's credit, they were able to fix them. We'll see if baseball does the same. Good take by Tim. Oh, I would have given you a great take. I just thought there was a little bit too much of a focus in the NHL. I'm not saying you're wrong about any of the points, but again, I think in general, Fanatics has certainly been an issue. So good take there from Tim. To you, finally, Barry Grant Jr., is this see-through pants, see-through uniforms situation with Major League Baseball, is this problem indicative of Rob Manfred? Like, what's your overall take on it?
How many points am I down right now?
Well, let's see. You're using your time, by the way. Alfred Parsard Jr. is at first, 1,100. Tim's in 550. You were at 300 right now at the moment.
Okay, because I am going to go ahead and take a shot at Alfred. The fact that he got the layup question of the year because he wanted it and then got a great take on top of it. We have to see what's going on here. We really have to see. Tim, I am sorry that this happened, but we're not going to let this stand. I got your back. All right, so if I get to the finals, don't worry. I got him. Now, we're going to say in regards to baseball, of course, Rob Manfred is dropping the ball because he drops the ball on everything outside of the pitch clock. This is a guy who you want to be aware of what's going on. The African-American population in regards to baseball has never been lower. You see anything happening with that? You see anything in regards to happening with certain revenue sharing in baseball? You see what's happening in free agency? There's so many problems with baseball, and it has to do with him. So, of course, the uniform situation is going to be a microcosm of what's going on in the sport of baseball because he's not aware of what's going on. Hey, Rob, we have a problem with the uniforms. Oh, really? What do they look like? That's something that I would honestly hear him say because he doesn't know. He has no idea what's going on. Do you know that Fanatics is... I thought Nike had it. That's something that Rob Manfred would actually say because he has no idea what he's doing. When everybody thought that he was going to be the savior of baseball when Bud Selig stepped down, man, do you miss Bud Selig now, don't you? It's crazy how bad this man has been. So the jerseys and the uniforms and the sheer leggings that the baseball players are wearing right now, of course, it's a microcosm of the worst commissioner we've ever seen in North American sports. He's horrible, and he knows it, and he's not going to step down because he wants the money, obviously. So we have to wait until 2029 to see somebody else. But we already know this, so it's not a shock to me. It's not a shock to anybody who actually follows sport. He's an idiot. He's a big idiot, and the only thing that's going to have his legacy on it is the pitch clock. That's it.
I'm very disappointed in you, Barry, that you missed that. You missed a golden opportunity there to call him a
what? Idiot brain?
Your show? Well, idiot brain, sure, but what's another staple of your show?
Dummy.
Bingo.
Oh, I got it.
Dummy. Yeah.
I was waiting for. I was wanting you to use it at the end. So, yeah, but no, I think in general the overall sentiment with Rob Manfred is a valid one, and like you said, the quotes over the years, the only good rule change has been the pitch clock. Everything else of that, Alfred mentioned the ghost runner. I mean, that was, what the heck was that? Like, shorten the game, sure, but that's not the avenue to do it. It felt like overreacting to, Tim, you'll remember this, the 18-inning slugfest between the Red Sox and the Dodgers back in Game 3 of 2018. But yeah, in general, that has been that has been a big issue with Rob Manfred, and I think that's hopefully going to come to an end, a rightful end in 2029. But a good take by Barry Grant Jr. gets you to 700 points here. Again, I think he had a lot of really interesting points, regarding the issues with baseball and how he's kind of destroyed the product as a whole. Hopefully it's still salvageable because we all here still love baseball. Move on to our fourth round. This is their final round with the top three contestants. Again, the top two go on to the final round. A lot of points you can get here, okay? Great take, you get 1,600 points. A good take, 800 points. An okay take, 400. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed with 0 points. Transitioning to the National Football League now, and sort of in reference to another commissioner, but certainly a booming league, the biggest. Antonio Brown said business is booming. That statement applies to no other league other than the National Football League, more so than any other league. Again, you talk about what they've done in terms of growing their overall product. However, there are reports there's speculation. There are rumors that at some point or another in the near future, we could go from a 17-game schedule to an 18-game schedule in which we had 16 games for decades. So I will start with you, Tim, on this one. Would extending the season to 18 games be a good idea for the NFL to go through with?
I think extending it to 17 games wasn't good. I mean, ever since the whole concussion thing came out, they've been so focused on making, training camp and preseason easier for guys to just glide through. All they're doing is just conditioning. And yet when we see the preseason games, it is injury after injury after injury. And back before then, when it wasn't a big deal, when the guys were doing two-a-days and throwing on pads for a majority of training camp, it didn't feel like these guys were getting injured for the rest of the year. I mean, Julian Edelman blew out his knee. Jordy Nelson blew out his knee. You had all these guys. Baltimore Ravens lost a stable of friggin' running backs during the preseason not too long ago. So to me, going up to 18 games, it's just a money grab for the NFL owners. And the only thing I can say about that is, yeah, all right, it's a money grab, and that it can lead more to the salary cap, and players can make more money off of that. But the CBA doesn't end until 2030. And I don't think that, the players are going to look at this and be like, and say, well, let's do it. A lot of these guys needed that third and fourth preseason game. The third game was mostly for the starters, but that fourth preseason game was always all the backups, no matter what. And so I just look at it going, it's just a money grab. I think it's stupid to have 2 bye weeks instead of 1. They're pushing it. The only benefit I can see from it is that Super Bowl Sunday is going to fall the day before President's Day. So we can all have Monday off, which I think a lot of us would be like, thank God. Yes, Monday should have been a national holiday anyway. But that to me is the only benefit outside of the money, at least for us as fans. And I know a lot of people didn't like preseason games and in it, half and half, but I enjoyed it. I liked watching to see who the backups were and all of that, how they played. Ultimately, though, I don't like the 18 games. I think it's way too long of a season. 17, I think it's long, but hey, we're here at 17 now, so I'll take 17.
Yeah, the idea of us getting the day off, I've always been a proponent of. I haven't talked about it a ton on my show, but I've been a proponent of giving Americans the day off the day after the Super Bowl to make it a national holiday. Because look, I mean, everybody's late at night. We're watching the game. Usually, said network will have the premiere of their TV show right afterwards. Till people up late at night. Yeah. Obviously, the winner of the Super Bowl, the loser of the Super Bowl can't sleep that night. There's a lot of components. I absolutely agree that we should have the day off. So good take there by Tim. I think he hit on some really interesting points regarding, they talk about player safety and a lot of things, but they continue to extend the season to 17. I'm totally with you. 17 is too many. 18 is just ridiculous. So, we could have some serious issues with that. So you, Barry Grant Jr., your reaction, or should the National Football League extend the season from 17 games, which they already extended it to that a few years ago, to 18 games in the near future?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to knock on any of the points that Tim said, because I think he said some great things, but I mean, the preference of the show is to be able to come with a different angle. My angle is going to be the reason why it's bad is from a competition or a historical standpoint. Now we're going to have an extra game and stats are going to be a lot more inflated, which means that guys are going to think that they're better than what they are. In regards to running backs, to have an extra game to get to 1,000 yards now. Wide receivers are going to have an extra game to hit certain marks. Defensive guys are going to have an extra game to hit certain marks. It's inflating a sport that's already started to inflate their offense. And it just doesn't bode well to me in regards to this particular sport that's supposed to be this tough, gridiron, tough, hard-nosed sport. You're going to put this extra game in it. Obviously, the competition level is not going to be as high as you want it to be because attrition is going to kick in. No matter if you have a second bye week or not, guys are going to be fatigued, tired. What happens to playoffs? Does that affect playoffs? Does that affect the play in playoffs? Like all of these things you have to start to factor in. So I'm going from it. I'm going to take the competition standpoint that I don't think it's a good idea. I think there was nothing wrong with 16 games. Just leave it alone. I understand that you want to have more revenue. You want to have contracts go up. Bigger deals are happening. But at the end of the day, it's the competition that we love. It's the competition that allows the sport to be able to grow and get these bigger TV deals, get these bigger endorsement deals. If the level of play dips, then the sport dips and you have a problem. So that's what my particular issue is. So no, I don't think they should go to 18 games.
You know what's funny is that argument I think has been made in reverse on baseball, because I've heard, for years, like, oh my God, the baseball season's too long. Let's shorten it to 120 games. And the case against that has been, yeah, well, records, single season records will be untouchable at that point because guys just won't have enough games to reach that. So I think it's a really interesting way to look at it. And like you said, look, and I think that the biggest key factor is obviously it's got to be player safety, because if your guys aren't out there playing, then it doesn't matter. Nobody's, people aren't going to be as tuned in. And, when guys are, when they're playing, so training camp will start in July. You're because of the extra bye week. So the Super Bowl this year was on February the 11th. It would be on February 25th. You'd be darn near into March at that point. And if the season start again, I'm just doing quick math on the fly. The Super Bowl could be as late as February 28th. Like that's 3 weeks later than what we're used to. That's 3 weeks later, or 3 weeks of off season that these players don't get to heal. So I think you have a lot of interesting points. So that's a great take. I'm going to give Barry Grant Jr. the full credit here. A great take to get into 2,300 points. I think that's the safety, the records aspect of it. Again, other than the financial standpoint, I don't see where there's a win to this. And so like you said, the inflated stats is not going to be the best look for the players as well, for anybody for that matter. So a great take by Barry Grant Jr. Finally to Alfred, what do you think about the NFL potentially extending their season to 18 games? Do you think it's a good idea or not?
Bad idea. When I first started watching football, there were 4 weeks of preseason and 17 weeks of regular season, with each team getting 1 week off throughout the season. But I'm like Tim. I didn't like the extension to 17 games, but I was kind of okay with it because they cut one preseason game and they added that game to the regular season. Okay, but now you want to add another game? Let's think about this for a second. When they wanted to trim the preseason from 4 games to 3, the main argument and focal point behind that was, we don't want our top players to get injured. So, all right, at least if you're going to add another game, make it a meaningful game. I get it, because we've seen disastrous injuries in the preseason. Trent Green in 99 with the Rams got hurt, didn't play the entire year. We saw what happened with Teddy Bridgewater, tore his ACL in the preseason game. And how can we forget Darryl Stingley took a hit in the first play of a preseason game of Monday Night Football. The man never walked again. Okay, whatever, cool. But now to add an 18th game, these guys are not horses. This is not the Kentucky Derby where you could just keep whipping and the horse will run faster. These are human beings we're talking about. It's crazy to me that they would want to add another game in a sport where the science shows that there's so many undiagnosed concussions on top of the concussions that we've seen already. Do we really want to add another game and see another Tua Tagovailoa situation where the guy, where he had such a traumatic brain injury that his hands went folded? No, we don't want to see that. We already see enough torn ACLs. We've already seen enough Tyler Eifert situations where the guy has got a bone sticking out of his leg, or another Alex Smith. This is the most dangerous sport in North American sports, maybe second next to hockey, that we're talking about. And you want to add another game so that we could potentially see another big injury? Look at all the injuries in the NFL this season. Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. Does a man have to die before we get the picture? I understand revenue, but you won't have a league. You won't have a league if you don't have players that people want to watch. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, I think again from it's so weird that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong. We can discuss another day that we're trying to shorten potentially NBA seasons or Major League Baseball seasons. We're trying to make the most dangerous sport longer because it's the king of television. Nobody, no league, don't care what you do, you're never going to surpass the NFL. And it's, again, I'm a capitalist. I believe that way. But like it comes to a certain point in time where it's like it feels greedy. Like it does. You're taking advantage of these dudes to the point where guys are just like Barry alluded to, like everybody alluded to, guys are just spent at the end of the season on a very physical game. Obviously,
look at my damn Dallas Cowboys. You had Lawrence come out and say he was gassed. Well, you gonna add another game?
Believe him, though.
It's the worst.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the excuse train will come out of Dallas, come hell or high water.
And one other thing that people forget: playing an NFL game, when those guys go to the doctor, if you get tackled enough, that's like playing one game is the equivalent of being in like 5 car accidents for the week. People don't think about that.
Yeah. No, listen, it's a brutal game. Like there's no question about that. So in general, good take for Alfred Parsard Jr. to get you to 1,900 points. So Tim, if I can soften the blow of Barry and Alfred making the final round, if I can soften the blow, you didn't
don't
lose
even don't
you
even
lose in the final round. You didn't. It's not like you got to the end and then get your heart ripped out of your chest.
This is more insulting than just you saying nothing, kicking me off, and telling me to have a good day. Like that's it. Please spare me your softness.
I'm just trying to help you, buddy.
We love you, Tim. We love you.
No, I get it. Bryson, you gave me such great points all night. Appreciate it.
We'll see Tim at the end of the show. Listen, it was a good show. Mike Guido says all three of you are way off on this. Cut the season to 10 games then. I don't know about that, Guido. That's a little too extreme. But listen, Mike can defend himself on the show another time. We'll see what happens with that. Let's move on to our final round again. Top 2 point getters. It is win or go home. Okay, the winner gets 10,000 points. The loser comes home empty-handed with 0 points. It is a darn shame just to if Tim wants to go that way, we're gonna rub it in. I see Tim right there. We're gonna rub it in with Tim right now. Talk about his Boston Celtics, who, geez, with the snot of my Golden State Warriors, geez, by final score, can't believe I'm saying this, of 140-88. Now, listen, the Warriors won the last game of a 4-game road trip, so Boston was fresh. We don't care about Golden State. We can talk about them another day. It's not like they're gonna get to the Western Conference Finals minimum. Anyways, to you, Barry Grant Jr., are the Boston Celtics, given this recent stretch, they've won 11 straight games, doing so on average by over 20 points a game, 1 seed in the East by a mile. Are they the odds-on favorite to win the Eastern Conference?
No.
Oh.
And the reason why I say that is because there's too much basketball left to play. Like, playoffs are all about matchups, right? As good as they look, as good as Jason Tatum has looked all season, as good as Jaylen Brown has looked, as good as Mr. Derrick has looked, like it's at some point, matchups in the playoffs matter. We know this. And they tend to fall off sometimes. They tend to be a little bit dribble happy, shot happy, tend to be a little one-on-one happy. So I need to see who they're going to actually face in the playoffs. Now, they may end up having a nice road in regards to matchups and cruise to the NBA Finals, right? But they may end up playing the Knicks. They may end up playing a team like the Bucks. They may end up playing a team that may give them fits where the matchup is actually the biggest issue with them. They're one of the best teams, right? Top to bottom, they have a good bench. They have a good starting five. Their defense is really good. They're one of the top teams in regards to three-point shooting in the NBA. But we all know what playoffs are about. Matchups. Like, players get you to the playoffs. Coaches win you series. So I need to see it in regards to that situation to say, do they have a front line or a road to the playoff or the road to the finals? We have to see it. They look good, but the Clippers look good at some point this season. Denver looked good at some point this season. We had the Oklahoma City have the best record in the West for a day. Like, there's a lot of things that ended up happening where teams are playing well. It's basketball. Teams will have their stretches. They'll have their runs where they look really good. They'll look really bad. They'll look mediocre, and then they'll find their way. It's about playoffs. I really don't care about the regular season. So it's about matchups. It's about how they're going to fare in the playoffs, and we got to see that.
Well, in terms of the regular season, if there's one thing that we've learned, and I've echoed this many times on Carving It Up, is that seeding in today's NBA, which the regular season, to Adam Silver's credit, in-season tournament, obviously the play-in, it has become slightly more important than it was, but still not to the level that we were accustomed to in years past.
Right.
Seeding doesn't matter. 6-seed Warriors hosted a playoff series in the second round. 7-seed Lakers got to the conference finals. Right. 8-seed Heat got to the NBA finals.
Matchups. And all those situations were about matchups.
No question about it. No question about it. It benefited all those teams in their own way. And so I think, obviously, like with, I'll ask you this, and this won't count towards your, toward a potential 10,000 points. I asked if Boston's the odds-on favorite. Do you think they're the favorites to win the Eastern Conference? Because odds-on is different.
I think they're one of them, yes. I
Okay.
think if you're going to give a percentage, I think they have a slight tick in regards to everybody else, just because of top to bottom how they're playing.
Yeah, no, they're playing unbelievable. To you, Alfred Parsard Jr., are the Celtics the odds-on favorite to win the Eastern Conference, given this recent streak they've been on and what they've been doing all season long?
I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, they are the odds-on favorite, and I'm going to give you reasons why. What you said, yeah, what Barry said, yes, the Clippers have looked good at times. The Clippers have looked good. The Nuggets have looked good. What's the difference between those teams? The Thunder have looked good, but what's the difference between those teams and the Celtics? They've looked good at times. The Celtics have consistently looked good all season. The Celtics, when their starting five is healthy, they've only lost 5 games together. So that in and of itself is amazing. The Celtics have been healthy all year. I mean, obviously, back-to-backs, you might rest Tatum, you might rest Jaylen Brown, or even the guy who nobody's giving any credit to, Kristaps Porzingis, has been on God mode all season. You want to look at all the other teams in the league. The Bucks fired Adrian Griffin and they hired Doc Rivers, and all of a sudden they have an inability to win games. The Knicks were hot, but injuries took them down. If Embiid never makes it back this season, the 76ers may never contend. And then you look at the Western Conference, you got teams that were supposed to have good seasons this year, like the Warriors, the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Kings. They're all fighting for play-ins. The Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, incredible player. But he's looked a little bit lazy this season in his terms of his effort level. And Denver, they don't look like, they're third in the West, but they don't look as good this year as they've done last year. And I think the Clippers are going to have some chemistry issues with Westbrook out now down the stretch. And again, Celtics are consistent. Celtics are healthy. They're playing at a very high level. Every time they've lost a game, they only lose in games that they against good teams. They don't lose against teams that they have no business losing to. Jason Tatum playing on an MVP level. The coaching from Joe Mazzulla has been elite. And again, women lie, men lie, but the numbers and stats and the records don't lie. Who else in the NBA has looked
10 seconds, Al.
Who else in the NBA has looked as good as the Celtics have for as long as the Celtics have?
The
It's
Wolves.
been all year with them.
What were you going to say, Bear?
The Wolves.
Yeah, and
I don't buy the
the
Wolves.
Celtics are 7 games better
Fair
than the
enough.
Wolves. So take that.
That's fair. I will say this. I'm not going to let the Nikola Jokic disrespect fly. I would love to give half effort. I'd love to give half effort and average 26, 12, and 9 on 58% for the field. Okay?
The guy runs
disrespect.
He is the
It doesn't
greatest.
matter. So
He's the greatest, laziest
I
player
love
ever.
Jokic, but for the sake of the argument, his team is not performing like they were at this time last year.
I still think they're the favorites out west by a pretty healthy margin, but still, nonetheless,
Champions don't make it's not about regular season. That's what I'm saying.
there's no question about that.
We've seen too many teams be just like this and fall right by the wayside. But we'll see.
But many of them, I think.
But when you predict the favorite, that's based off what you've seen so far this season.
I think
we'll
there. Well, we'll certainly see. I think there's a. I could be butchering this, but I think there's a stat that the best record in the NBA has not gotten to a conference finals since 2017 when my Warriors went on to win the championship that year. Best record in the NBA has not gotten to a conference finals since 2017.
That's 7 years. That's a long sample size.
We'll see. That could come. It's a large sample size, and we'll see what happens in that regard, boss. I do certainly think that they're absolutely, I think, the favorites to win out east. I see a comment by Mike. He says Boston is the clear top dog in the east. I think that's hard to argue at this point. Milwaukee is playing better, but we'll see what happens. Both y'all delivered fire takes. Both y'all delivered fire shows. But there could be only one winner of the 8 o'clock spot, and the winner this week, as we dial at the victory music, is Barry Grant Jr. comes back. Wins his title on the 8 o'clock spot. I know certainly is making Patrick happy. Do we have the victory? There it is. Alfred's crushed by this, and I know that makes Barry happy. I know you're my guy, Alfred, but I thought Barry had a slightly better take. Barry, you are a champion once again on the 8 o'clock spot. Your reaction?
You know, as the creator of this beautiful show, and I love the fact that we've had such great contestants. Tim, I love that guy. He brings the heat every week that he's on here. Alfred, it seems like every time that we are on the show together, we end up in the finals. So respect to you, but I had to get you. All right, I had to get you, and this time was my time. And look, I've been on this show for a few weeks in a row. I'm just letting y'all know right now, you may see me for a while, so the wins may end up piling up. I'm just saying, it's just like what I said about Thanos, right? When you see things going off the rails, you have to come back and do it yourself.
If this is going to make it even better for you, Bear, I'm looking at this again. I'll update the leaderboard obviously next week, but as currently we sit here today, you are a little over 58,000 points, which would put you in second over the previously second Alfred Parsard Jr. So,
it makes it even better. It makes it even better.
That's just, I literally just checked the standings just now, and that is currently where we sit. Alfred, your reaction. I'll ask Tim his view, and we'll bring him back in.
I don't have anything to say.
That's it. Nothing. Nothing at all.
Nope.
Okay. Let's see if Tim has more to say. Bring Tim back into
speak to the commissioner of the Gryd to file a protest.
Yeah, those protests never go through ever. It's gonna fall on deaf ears, Alfred. I hate to tell you, Tim. Impartial, certainly, and not making the final round, but still impartial. Did I make the correct decision here? your mic's muted. Your mic's muted, Tim. Your mic's muted.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because that would mean I'd have to go against my Celtics if I say you were correct. And the fact that the Celtics have an 8.5 game lead over the Cavs for number 2, or the Bucks, excuse me. They're playing the Cavs right now. So
what's going to happen is this is going to be the equivalent to when the NBA misses a call that decides the game and they come out later and be like, that foul should never been called. Tomorrow morning, Bryson is going to be like, on second thought, Alfred should have won. I bring you stats. I bring you stats and facts, and Barry just says, "Oh, we've seen number 1 seeds not win the championship."
He's not wrong.
You're right. You're right. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I got to say this though. I agree with you. The Celtics are the clear-cut favorite to get out of the East. Let's just be honest with that.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about winning the finals. I'm talking about just getting out of the East, because that's the question, right, Bryson?
Yeah, no question.
Getting out of the East.
Yep.
So clearly they are the favorite. They have been dominating. They have not lost on home court to any opponent in the East in over a calendar year, dating back to last season.
I get it, but like I said, all of those things are nice.
They say favorite based on what we've seen so far.
All of those things
in the future that we don't know about.
All of those things are nice, but we're talking about playoffs, right?
I agree.
Listen, we watch too much basketball to be able to say they're the clear-cut favorite. I remember when Milwaukee had the best record in the league, and they got their boot. They got their
favorite off the regular.
They got their boots smoked by Miami.
That's
all I'm saying.
Yep, you're 100% right. I just want to throw one more thing in there. It's the fact that, listen, I'm with you, Barry, that the playoffs, I don't know how this team is going to do. I really don't, because when the Celtics get into those tie games, down by 1, down by 2, they crater. And don't tell me that Game 6 against Miami last season, they didn't crater. They absolutely cratered. Derek White is just a heads-up basketball player that somehow, some way, the ball went to him the whole 9. But I do agree that I don't know how this team will do in the NBA playoffs. I don't, because Tatum and Brown have not proved a thing yet. And I will say this: Joe Mazzulla is, up and down. He is so low on what matters. But again, like Alfred was saying, it is about what we have seen. And to get out of the East right now, there is no team in the NBA at least in the East, that can take on the Celtics.
We might as well just say, the Miami Heat have a chance, and they're the 8th seed fighting for a play-in. Come on.
Well, listen. Last thing I'll say one more thing to Tim, that we got to wrap the show up, because we've had a lot of fun tonight for sure. Only thing I would say about that, Tim, is you're simultaneous. And again, it's two things could be true. I think that's I believe that with every fiber of my being. But you're on one hand saying we got to see what happens in the playoffs, but given what we've seen, but also saying in the playoffs, they haven't proven anything. Like it's almost like sound like you're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, which again, I think I'm the biggest Tatum fan in this group, including Tim. And I know Tim is a Tatum guy for sure, but I think sure we do have to see it in a 7-game series against the elite competition, and we haven't seen that by and large. And so I think everybody has a fair take to you. Do I think they should get out?
We had 2 solid points, man. Somebody had to win, somebody had to lose, baby. And Alfred, just take your L and just go home. It's all right. Just take your L.
Bryson, don't let him blackmail you with threats to kick you off the network because he wanted to win.
Yeah, if I'm nothing else, I'm fair and I am objective. Okay, if nothing else, this is what I do. Tim, you're going to break through. That's the end of today's show, the 8 o'clock spot, live here on the Gryd Network every Tuesday night. Be sure to catch us pretty soon at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on the Gryd Network, and check out all of our Gryd Network contributors and our content creators. Shout out to Barry, the winner of today's show, All Even Podcast. Check his stuff out. Tim Barnard, big time show tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific time, live on the Gryd Network, Boston Sports Summit. Check out his show tomorrow night. Great stuff. And Alfred Parsard Jr., listen, he may not have a show, but he creates graphics for all of our shows, so he's really a contributor to the entire network as a whole, and put together a great performance tonight, albeit he did come up short. You are still in 3rd place, Alfred, though, so you still, as we currently see here today, get bronze medal. I think, is Barry doing the LeBron the powder toss in the air to finish the show? Okay, there you go. Shout out to the king, LeBron, and the greatest player ever. We will see y'all soon on the 8 o'clock spot on the Gryd Network, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out.